What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Downtown Deuce Show. So, no intro song tonight, no anthem music tonight. The Pistons lose their second straight game on the road tonight. Second game of the road trip. They're now 0-2 on the road, and they lose tonight 110 to 105 in a tough one. A tough one. They're now 35-29 on the regular season, and we are going to talk about what that means for the Pistons going forward. But first of all, shout out to everybody who was here on this late night West Coast trip, right? It's 11:40 currently right now on Saturday evening EST. So appreciate you guys all being here so we can kind of break down this game. Chuck, I agree. Hard loss, great learning loss though. And Green 3 to beat us. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Fonseca should stay home and make peace. Yeah, so guys, we're going to get to everything tonight, man. But I see you guys all here in the comments. I appreciate you guys showing up and showing out as you always do. So let's get to it, man. It was interesting for me watching this game. Kind of like last game, when you're playing experienced teams and you're a young team and you're hanging with them, you're not playing great, right? You're not executing, you're making mistakes, but you're doing enough to stay in the game. You're showing fight, you're showing grit, and you're hanging. Right? When I see on the road, when I see that, it just makes me proud. When I see that from a young Pistons team on the rise, it makes me proud because it just shows that they're going in the right direction. Right? Tonight, just like the other night against the Clippers in the nip-tuck game, it came down to experience versus youth. You know, this was very much a back and forth game. 20 plus ties in this game. Nobody could really take control of the game. But the Warriors were the more experienced team. They were the more battle-tested team, right? Some of those guys got 4 championships over there. Some have at least one, you know? So down the stretch, they just executed better. It wasn't for any lack of effort on the Pistons tonight. They wanted this game. Just like last game, they wanted that game too. Just made mistakes down the stretch, just like last game. This game, I think their score was actually tied 99-99 with about 5 or 6 minutes left. And they made mistakes. Tonight, the game was tied down the stretch. They made mistakes. And Golden State hit some very improbable shots, including a Draymond Green 3 of all people with about 30 seconds left, or 34 seconds left, because he got a 2-for-1. And that's actually, I want to tell you guys, that's actually why he took that shot. Because there was about 35 seconds left on the clock. The score was tied, or the Warriors were down 1. And he knew at that point in time he can get 2 shots in the Pistons and hold the Pistons to 1. That was the thought process. We're taking it with that much time because you make the shot, you're in great shape because now you're in the lead, and with about 34 seconds left, you know, even if the Pistons come down to score, they can still come down with about 10 seconds left to win the game with the least, right? So that's just the savvy of Draymond Green, and that's kind of what I mean as far as youth versus experience. Just knowing the situation, the Draymond Green in that situation. For me, it wasn't even about the 3. He made it. That's the best case for them. But it was just knowing situational basketball, being aware of situational basketball, knowing what to do in that situation, playing chess. That is why he's still on that team, even though he doesn't have the same athleticism or, you know, maybe you want to say skill that he used to have. He's still a very smart player. And things like that really show. When I saw him take the shot, I immediately looked at the clock and I said, oh, that's why. So when it went in, it made it worse. But, you know, that's a heads-up play by Draymond Green. That's why he's there. That's why he has been part of those championship teams. But getting back to the Pistons, man, this was a very, very tough loss. Very tough loss, but a learning experience. Very much a learning experience. The Pistons they did have Tobias Harris for this game. He returned after missing the last 2 for personal reasons. So it was good to see him back on the court. And he looked good. Like, the Pistons definitely missed him these last 2 games. You could see the difference, especially offensively, when the Pistons would kind of get stuck in a rut or kind of get stagnated, offensively stagnant. He would just go get a bucket. And he was really big for this team, despite going through some bumps and bruises through this game. We'll get to that. But yeah, so that's my initial reaction. As far as my initial thoughts, how do I always begin? I kind of took some notes here. What do we always talk about as far as basketball games and the Pistons and what they need to do? Putting together full games, 4-quarter games, and hitting first. The Pistons did not hit first tonight. They got down early in this game. They were down 9-0 to start. And, you know, they had that dreaded early first timeout that I always talk about Happened again, and that was disappointing for me because they had 2 days of rest. So it was disappointing to see them kind of come out flat. They just didn't look in sync, though. They looked out of sync. The rotations weren't clean. Asar was throwing lobs to JD that were off target that he usually makes. They just looked out of sync, But after that, JB settled them down and got back to who they were. And the defensive intensity really picked up after that timeout. And they got right back to who they are by turning up their defense, creating turnovers, and getting out in transition. And after that 9-0 start by the Warriors, the Pistons went on their own 8-0 run to get right back into the game and force the Warriors to call timeout. So that just shows you, though, that when the Pistons play their style of basketball, they can beat anybody. It's not where there's a lack of talent and the Pistons are executing great, not making many mistakes, less than 10 turnovers a game, and they're just still losing to better teams. That's not the case. The Pistons have the talent. They have enough talent on this team. It's just more so about now, can I play to that style? Can I lock in and play to that style for the entire game? Or for as close to its entire game as possible? That's really what it comes down to for this team. Even without Jaden being back yet, that is still the case. And they showed it when they got to who they were. They were able to really cut into the Warriors' lead and get right back into the game. So that was encouraging to see. The Pistons did play after that point. They pretty much played Pistons basketball for the rest of the game. It wasn't pretty. They made mistakes, but the style of play, aside from those first few minutes of the game, for the most part, was Pistons basketball. So that was encouraging to see. I just need them to continue to focus on getting off the better starts, especially on the road, because if you don't, you're not always going to be able to get back into a game like that, right? They work tonight, but it's not always a guarantee. So you got to get off to good starts, especially on the road. Okay, so let's get to some comments and we'll get back to it. Devin said they were rusty. Maybe that was what it was, Devin. Maybe they were just rusty, but it just seemed to me more so than just rust, because it wasn't just like they were missing shots. They just didn't seem locked in. They didn't seem to be on a string defensively like they usually are. It was the mental part for me more so than the actual shots. But I heard what you're saying. It could have been a combination of both. You're actually right, because I remember there was a possession where Asar had like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds, one time down the floor. And Beasley had an open 3 off of it. He missed it. TAJ had an open 3 off of it. He missed it. I think K had a shot off of it. He missed it. So it could have been a combination of both, Devin. It could have been a combination of both for sure. Pistons should be okay against the Bucks in the postseason. I'm not a believer in Doc Rivers coaching in the playoffs. As long as Stu and JD can stay out of foul trouble, make a hustler, I think that will be the biggest part of it, because I won't say JD, but Stu guards Giannis better than pretty much anybody in the league. So if he can keep his emotions in check and harness that energy and emotion, Pistons got a good shot for sure. Not to get off topic. Let's get back to this game. We need J.I. back, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to get to that too, as far as how that related to this game tonight as well, because it reared its ugly head again of him not being available. No shade to Shooter, because Shooter played great. We're going to get to him too. Let's start with Cade. Let's get the box score. Let's start with Cade. So Cade had 31 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 9 turnovers, 2 fouls, on 10 for 17 from the floor, 2 or 3 from the three-point line, 9 to 10 from the free throw line, in 38 minutes. So the thing that stands out, obviously, guys, is the 9 turnovers, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to get to when it came to this game and when it came to Jaden Ivey. Because just like the Clippers, the Warriors' game plan was, we're not going to let K beat us. And even with that, he still had 31 in 6 and 5, or 4 and 5, with 2 steals and 2 blocks. He still had a really solid game aside from his turnovers. But the turnovers stood out to me. They definitely stood out, because you could see many times as soon as he crossed half court, they were crowding him. They were doubling him, sending 2 at him, not allowing him to make a play, not allowing him to get to his spots. And when you have a guy like Jaden available to you, another ball handler, another guy who can easily get downhill and draw fouls and make the right play if he gets doubled or the help comes to him, you can't just double Cade. We have a dual threat like that. If you watch Cleveland play at all, you don't see double teams as much as you see them against Detroit right now. You don't see, because if you double Donovan Mitchell, you got Darius Garland, and you already know what the damage he can do. So that just shows the importance of having another ball handler with Cade. Right now, he doesn't have his Darius Garland. That's the difference. And that's what makes things difficult for him. Not excusing the turnovers, because he did play in the crowd at times, right? He over-penetrated at times, or he would get too deep into the teeth of defense in the paint and try to make a pass. It's great if you got 4 or 5 guys on you if you have space. You got guys open, but you got to be able to get the ball there, right? And so sometimes he would kind of just hold on to it a little bit too long, trying to draw the defense in a little bit too much. And when he would do that, that would happen, but he wouldn't be able to get the ball or the pass there because there's 8 hands trying to deflect his pass. So that's why the domino effect of not having a guy like Jaden Ivey is so important. Because you see, even though you have guys like Asar, you're right, Asar doesn't have the ball handling ability of Jaden, right? He's not a threat to shoot from 3. So the defense can play a guy like Asar differently out of a double team. You know what I mean? Because Jaden has more offense to offer as well when compared to Asar. So that just shows you how well-rounded Jaden is as a player. He can do many things for you. And when he comes back, whether it's this season or next season, you're going to see the difference with how Cade is guarded and how much more freedom he's going to have when he has a guy like Jaden next to him. So that's the importance of having him available or not having him available right now. Okay. But aside from that, I thought Cade really played a really good game. Cade hates losing to his peers, man. I noticed that tonight. I've noticed like the last few games going against guys like Trey, going against guys like, James Harden and Steph, like guys, teams that are pretty, I guess you could say, equal to the Pistons as far as talent and ability, right? Those teams are, I would say, pretty equal. Maybe we're a little better than a couple of those teams. But when the teams are equal and it's just mano a mano as the main guy, Steph and Cade wants to win those games, man. He wants to win those games. You could really tell the way he was clapping his hands during timeouts, just the way he was aggressive looking for his offense. Early in this game, he really kept the Pistons in this game because the Pistons could not buy a basket in the first quarter. Early in the first quarter, they could not buy a basket. So Cade really put the offense and the team on his back and just got buckets himself because the team needed it. The Pistons absolutely needed it. He kept them in the game early, but you can see he don't like losing these kind of games. He wants to prove he's the better player to go along with a good team, right? When it's you versus me, that's what he likes to do. So you could see that he really wanted this game. I hate that he loses these games and these kind of efforts when he's got 31, 4, and 5 and 2 steals and 2 blocks. I hate when he loses those games because they get forgotten. This could have been a signature win against a great team, a battle-tested team on the road. With the addition of Jimmy Butler, that's how we're here. That's what I'm talking about. So to be able to get a win in that situation on their home court like that would have been big. That would have been a signature win. So, it hurts to lose it, but every team has to go through the growing pains, right? In order to, you gotta beat the champion before you can become one. So I understand, and that's why I'm not too upset because they have champions on that team. They got all kind of experience on that team, and they got a coach who's won 4 rings with them. So you got to give them credit. But also the Pistons, they fought hard, man. Cade fought hard on both ends of the floor. You could really see defensively he was getting after it too. He had a chase down block early, just swatted off the backboard that he didn't, he really sprinted down the floor to get there. So on both sides of the ball, man, he really did his thing. And offensively in that third quarter, he got it going. He was cooking in that third quarter. They couldn't stop him, man. He was just methodically getting to his spots and making the right read. Whether they were giving him the shot or whether they were coming to help, he was making the right pass. Like he was just making all the right plays. He had 9 turnovers, but I think, like I mentioned, most of those were not from errant passes. It was just from ball handling and getting crowded and getting doubled and holding on to it too long. So I think that's the biggest thing. But aside from that, he really played well, man. He really did his thing. It's hard to watch for me sometimes because I know if he had that other guy on the court, I just saw the Golden State was just taking advantage of it over and over and over again. It was annoying. It was so irritating to watch. But yeah, Cade won this game bad, man. He had if you guys saw it, a nice buzzer beater. I think at the end of the third quarter. And it was after a big score by the Warriors. And I thought that was a really big shot that he made at the end of the third quarter to really kind of put the Pistons in a good spot because it gave him the lead going into the fourth quarter. Check it out.
3 seconds, 2 seconds, aim for 3, and it's through with 1.3 to play in the third.
So that was a big shot, man. And he was making plays like that all night. He was doing that all night. He really was 10 for 17, man. He was very efficient. And he got some calls. I know that we've all talked about the free throw disparity with him and guys like James Harden, and it's definitely a fact. It's definitely the case. But he has been getting more love lately compared to what he's usually getting. It's still not for par when it comes to star players, but he's getting more. I think the last 50% of the last 15 games, I think he's getting double-digit free throws, right? And before that, all of his other games in his career, he had gotten double-digit free throws 9 out of 183 games. 9 out of 183. In the last 15 or so, he's gotten about half. He's gotten about half of that, getting 10-plus free throws. So it's slowly starting to work into his favor. And hopefully when we get to playoff time, the Pistons can keep winning games. That'll translate because the game slows down. So we'll see what really happens. But yeah, he did his thing, man. I was proud of watching him play tonight, even though we didn't get a win. I know he's probably frustrated about that. But the Pistons just got to play through it. This is what happens. And this is a long season. This is a 4-game road trip. They still got 2 opportunities to go 2-2. But what I'm encouraged by, the guys, is that they're still playing to their strengths. Like, this is the first time in a long time we're seeing the Pistons consistently play the same way. We've seen prior teams, all the teams of the 2020s up to this point in the season, up to this point this year, you didn't know what you were going to get. You didn't know what you were going to get. You didn't know what Pistons team was going to show up. I think you guys would all agree. 2021, 22, 23, 24. Like, you didn't know which team you were going to get on any given night. You didn't know if we were going to, we knew last year during that losing streak, we knew it was going to happen for a while. We thought for a long time it was never going to end, right? But just in previous seasons, you didn't know if we were going to get blown out. We were going to have a crazy synergy about ourselves and win a game, right? You never knew. But now, watching these games, I think most of us kind of go in, looking to win the game consistently. And that's what is very, very encouraging for me, is that this team is showing growth. Is like, we're not winning all the close games, losing the teams that are more battle tested, that have been there before, but at least we're playing the same way every game. The style of play, at least that's there every game. These guys are committed to their roles every game. That's the encouraging part for me. That's what I really hope continues. And you see JB has these guys head on correctly. Dominique, appreciate you, brother. As always, man. How you doing, man? See you in a minute. Let's see what you got to say. What up, Deuce? That Cade turnover after that Green 3 was tough, but didn't understand not fouling Green instead of Steph at the end, and that Beasley 3 was forced. Had enough time for a quick 2 with that timeout in our pocket. Okay, let's break this down, guys. Dominique, appreciate you, brother. You always showing love, and I appreciate you for it. Guys, I'm going to leave this up here. We're going to talk about this. Let's take it piece by piece. So that Cade turnover after that Green 3 was tough. 100%. That was because the game up to that point, I believe, was nip-tuck back and forth. We had a shot to win that game. Guys. And once again, Cade has to be better with the ball. He has to be better with the ball, right? Nine turnovers is too much, right? And we talked about why, but he's got to be better in that situation. Next part, he didn't understand not fouling Green instead. I didn't get that either, because he had the ball in his hands for a few seconds and nobody went to him. It was almost like they were trying to all just shade Curry to make sure Curry didn't get the ball, but nobody went to Dre. That was the crazy part. I think that's what happened, bro. I think they were all trying to deny Steph the ball, but nobody went to go foul Draymond. It's like, okay, this is great. It's kind of like boxing out, but nobody gets the rebound. Like, everybody just can't box out. You got to get the board. So, man, I was literally like, bro, why aren't you fouling? Foul. Like, I think he'd already just missed a free throw before. So, or he missed one after. So they blew that one. They blew that one, man. But it's, it happens. It happens. I knew once they fouled Steph, he was not going to miss, and it was game over. Game over. Yeah, and that Beasley 3, they were ready for it. The Warriors are ready for it. The game plan, the Warriors played solid tonight, man. Like, defensively, they are a good defensive team. I'm watching their rotations. I'm watching on Pistons swinging the ball. Like, you got the Warriors guy, Santos, guarding 2 guys, guarding the shooter and the pass. Like, just playing really good defense, really good positional defense. But I think the Pistons, they were ready for that. They were ready for Beasley coming off the curl and taking the 3. That's why they had Draymond, and I think it was Moses Moody who was there too. They're both ready for it. So, it was kind of predictable. I really wish they would have went to something different. But, tough game, man. Tough loss. But Dominique, I appreciate you, bro. As always, man. King, my dog, what's up, man? Yeah, we got to take better care of the basketball. We were talking about that. Cade has to take better care of the basketball. And it's not just him. It's not just him. But he has the ball in his hand so much, and not having a guy like Jaden on the court with him, right? It allows these guys to be able to crowd him and double as much as they want. It's so frustrating to watch it because you see that they see it, right? You see that, oh, yeah, he's not available. Yeah, we're definitely going to take advantage of that. So it was tough. That's why, like, it benefits Cade in that situation to play a guy like Schroeder with him, because now it makes it harder for those guys to crowd and double Cade. And if you watched, I'm sure you did, but if you guys watched, they couldn't double him as much because they knew that with Schroeder available, he can also make the right decision when he catches the ball with an advantage numbers wise. So having a guy like Jaden, once again, is very, very important for the Pistons. And when he comes back, you're going to see a better Cade Cunningham. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get to Tim Hardaway Jr. So guys, Tim Hardaway Jr., he didn't have a great game. He didn't have a great game as far as the stat sheet. He did a lot of things for this team. But let's just get to his stats first. He had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, on 2 for 9 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line in 29 minutes. So, like I mentioned, he really didn't have a good game. He struggled with his shot. And early on, it was rare to see him give up offensive rebounds. He usually boxes out well and doesn't allow guys to get to the rim. But in this game, he allowed Moses Moody to get an easy offensive board for a layup. And I was just like, what are we doing, guys? That was part of that early 9-0 stretch I was talking about to start the game when it just came out flat. But other than that, man, I watched this guy just play. He really understands, guys, how to play basketball. He's not the flashiest. He's not the most talented, not the biggest, but he understands how to play the game. For example, I couldn't get a screen grab of it. I wish I could, but there was a play, you guys probably saw it, where he came off a screen, right? Kind of like how it was similar to the Malik Beasley play at the end of the game, right? The one that he missed when 2 guys were there to defend him. Early in the game, it looked like they were in the same play for Tim Hardaway Jr., right? And the thing about it is usually when he comes off a screen, he has at least some airspace to get a shot off, right? He usually has some space. He may be a hand there, but he's got some breathing room to get a shot off usually. But the shot wasn't there. But the defender, Santos, who plays for the Warriors, as I mentioned earlier, he played both the shot on THJ and the pass on Fontecchio because he knew that if he jumped at THJ is probably going to want to move the ball. So he guarded the shot and the pass. He had a great angle to guard both. And when I saw that, Tim smartly didn't just force the shot up anyway. He could have, as a shooter, he could have easily just forced the shot up, right? Or he could have easily tried to swing the ball to Fontecchio, who was in the corner, and turn the ball over because Santos had played the ball and the shot very well in that possession. But Tim Hardaway didn't take a bad shot. He didn't make an errant pass. What he did was he found Schroeder open on the weak side, who knocked down the midi. So he just understands how to make the right plays, guys. He understands defenses. He's been in the league long enough to understand what he's looking at, right? And he knows how to make a counter. Even like you think about Cade, he always has a counter move, right? Counter move. You cut that off, I got a counter spin, right? THJ knows the counter pass to make, right? If he catches the ball, he's going up with it if he's open. If he's getting crowded, he's making the right pass. If the defender plays both, he's making the weak side pass. Like he understands how to make the counter play. That's what I mean by he helps his team outside of just the stat sheet because he makes good decisions. More times than not, he's making a good decision when he catches the basketball. And that's why I like having a guy like him on his team. King says shouldn't have took out Asar. I definitely agree with that. You know, let's get to Asar. Since we are actually, I think that's we're good on Tim. Let's get to Asar. So Asar tonight had 6 points, 5 boards, 1 steal, 1 block, 4 turnovers on 2 of 6 shooting, 2 of 2 from the free throw line in 18 minutes. I don't know why he was in foul trouble. That was the problem. So guys, Asar played 18 minutes. He was in foul trouble tonight. And he had the assignment early in this game of guarding Steph. And that's a tough cover. That's a tough ask for anybody because we know the shooter that Steph is. But his constant movement without the basketball is tiring. It is tiring. And honestly, I think that may be part of why Asar was in foul trouble. Because we know that Asar has been slowly building and ramping up his minutes, right? I think tonight was a terrible matchup for him because of where he is in his conditioning, in his process. and having to guard a guy like Steph, who was one of the best conditioned basketball players in the league. That's tough. Because if you guys noticed, they switched it up. They switched up coverages, right? They went from Asar early, and then for a lot of the game, they went with Schroeder or Bees. And I think that's because Asar was tired. I think he was tired. I think they tried to have him on him as much as possible. But Steph, like I mentioned, he's just nonstop movement. It doesn't matter who's like, and Beasley actually was solid guarding him. We're going to get to Bees, but Asar just appeared to be tired, guys. I think that's why and Devin, I think that's what it is. Yeah. He was tired. I mean, most guys are think about it. We all know what happened with the Cavs. I can't think of his name right now. If you guys know who I'm talking about, the backup point guard for the Cavs in 2015, when he was chasing Steph around all series in the finals, they were saying he needed to go to the hospital, right? He needed to go to the hospital because he was dehydrated, right? Like, this guy, Steph, just doesn't stop moving. He does not stop moving. That's why he's such a great, and not only is he a great shooter, but he moves well without the basketball. That's double whammy, because that's tiring for a defender to have to chase all around. The more you got to chase, the more open looks you're going to get, unless they're playing great help side defense. And even with that, he makes the right play out of that. So like he's a lethal weapon, man. He's he's so hard to guard, and I think Asar was just gassed. He guarded him well early, right? The first couple of minutes, despite the Pistons getting out to a slow start, that really wasn't Asar's fault. He guarded him solidly early, but as the game continued to progress, you saw more and more guys on him for longer periods, and I think that's why he was in foul trouble. But Asar, guys, had a beautiful move. I think it was in the first half. Did anybody see that up and under that Asar made? The Euro, he made a Euro play followed by an up and under. That was beautiful. Did anybody see it? Just in case you didn't. One more time. Kevon Looney is a very good defender, man. He had him stuck in sand. He didn't know what he was about to do with the ball. Devon, yes. Matthew Dellavedova, that's the guy who had to go to the hospital from guarding Steph in the finals because he was gassed, right? So that's why I think Asar didn't play as much and he was in foul trouble, like I said. But yeah, Asar, man, he's a freakish athlete, bro. It doesn't make sense, the things that he can do. It doesn't. I literally didn't know where he was going to go with that shot. With the up and under, I literally lost where the ball was. I'm expecting him to go straight up on the strong side, and he hangs in the air for an extra second and just spins the ball off and put some English on it, and it goes. He's crazy, man. Like we always say it, but he's a very, very raw basketball player, guys. He's very raw. I think he's just raw from a mechanics standpoint. As far as his dribbling mechanics, his shooting mechanics, right? His finishing. He's raw in that aspect. That's the biggest thing. Defensively, he's a wizard. He's a very, very smart defensive player, and he's built to play defense. But once the offense catches up, guys, he's going to be very, very good. It's just no telling how long it's going to take him. It may take a year, it may take 3 years. We just got to wait and see. But his ceiling is extremely high. That's kind of what we were talking about, Terry. I think maybe that was part of it. It may have been a combination of things. I think the biggest thing is just the fact that he is still getting used to playing basketball on a regular basis. He was out 8 months, guys, with that blood clot. You don't just come back right away, a few weeks after ramping up, in practice and just come back and be the guy you were before you went down. Like, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you're going to have games where you feel great. Other games, you're going to have games where you're like, why am I so tired already? It's just the way the body has to adjust to playing that regularly every single night. It takes time to get there. So I think, Tara, that was part of why. And then on top of that, having to guard a guy like Steph is hard for anybody, let alone a guy like Asar who's still trying to get his legs under him. All right. Let's get to let's go to JD. So guys, JD had 13 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover, 5 fouls on 6 for 11 shooting, 1 for 3 from the free throw line in 29 minutes. So JD, once again, man, double in the first half. Right? He wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. He had a few fouls that were like, bro, come on, JD, you got to be better than that. But overall, he played a very solid game for the Pistons. His free throw shooting as of late has not been as great as it was early. 1 for 3 tonight. I think he was 1 for 2 the other night. So I'm watching that. But overall for this season, he's been around 80% for the whole season. So I really can't complain with that. After starting off terribly, he's been really, really good as of late. But he, like I always say, guys, with him, I am just happy that he is committed to his role. There are things outside of his role right now that he can do, but not consistently yet. He has a lot of ability as far as with ball handling, as far as with passing, little post moves here and there. He can do other things, but what he can consistently do that will impact this team in a positive way are the things that he's doing. Providing energy and effort, controlling the glass. Like, you can see now that he's really bought into his role all the way. He's bought all the way into it. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean he's going to be free of mistakes. But you can see that he's trying to be the absolute best that he can at being the guy the Pistons need him to be. Right? I think in the future, the Pistons will be able to unlock more of his game. Right? Kind of like how we see Isaiah Stewart unlocking a little bit here and there offensively, adding things offensively here and there. Right? But the foundation is always going to be defense. Always going to be defense. And right now, he's just sticking to the basics. I give him credit for that. Right? Protect the paint, be a force on the boards, set good screens, dive to the hoop, sprint down the floor. Like, those are the core valuables, or the variables rather, of what the Pistons need him to be. And he's bought into it. He's bought into it. He's shown a lot of growth this season. And I have to really give him credit for that. So he wasn't perfect tonight, but he's not the reason we lost this game. He's not the reason we lost this game. All right, let's get to our last starter, Tobias Harris. 15 points, 12 boards, 2 assists, 1 turnover on 4 for 11 shooting, all 2 from 3, 7 for 8 from the free throw line in 36 minutes. Welcome back, Tobias Harris, man. Welcome back. Like, I don't know what was going on. We talked about it. He had, personal reasons he was out, whatever, right? I'm just glad that he's okay and he's back on the court because the Pistons missed him. They missed him, man. 12 boards. That's very, very encouraging. That is another guy who was buying in to who the Pistons need him to be for this team. We talk about it all the time. The good teams in the East, the top tier teams in the East, they have 2 bigs, right? You got Milwaukee. They've got 2 bigs with Giannis and Brook Lopez. The Celtics, they got bigs over there, Horford and Kristaps and Cornette. Even the Knicks now, right? They just got Mitchell Robinson back to go with Cat. And then you got Cleveland with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Like, all the top tier teams in the East have 2 bigs, right? So the Pistons don't. They do, but they don't start 2 bigs, right? They don't start JD with Isaiah Stewart. They start JD with Tobias. And so Tobias is hands down the smallest out of all the guys I mentioned on the Pistons teams and those other teams, right? At 6'8". So he already is undersized, and he already is a finesse player at heart. Doesn't mean he can't play bigger, or try to play bigger and give effort and play tougher, right? But he has to lean into that. And he has. I'm not taking that away from him. But that's just not naturally who he is. He's not like a naturally, guy who's just rugged like Isaiah Stewart, who wants to bang, who wants to be physical, who wants to, throw bows and mix it up in the paint. That's not Isaiah. That's not Tobias Harris. But he's leaned in to being the guy the Pistons need him to be for now. That's why you see 12 rebounds, because he has leaned in to the role like Jalen Duren. He's leaned in to the role the Pistons need him to play for this team. It's not what he's best at, but it's needed, right? And that's the key. And when your vets are doing that, like when Tobias Harris is doing that, it makes it easier for guys like Jalen Duren to do the same thing. That's the importance of having a vet like Tobias Harris. He's going to do his job. Whatever he's asked to do, he's going to do that. And if your vet's doing it as a young guy, you can't not do it. You got to follow suit, right? So that's encouraging from Tobias Harris. And also, man, like tonight, offensively, guys, he was doing his thing, man. Like even though he jammed his hand, I think in the third quarter, he jammed his hand, was like he was in a lot of pain. And if you play basketball, if you jam your fingers, even just one of them, looks like he jammed 2 or 3. But if you jam just one finger, it's painful. And it's going to get worse once it's not warm anymore. Kind of like ankles. Like when you jam it and you're not able to pull it back, or, if it's dislocated and you don't get it properly set, it's going to swell. And it makes it hard to shoot. Even though it was his left hand, it's still not a natural feel if you're a right-handed shooter. right? It'd have been worse if it was his right hand, but even with it just being his guiding hand, it's still, you feel the difference. It's uncomfortable when you're shooting. And he just continued, guys, to just knock down shot after shot after shot after shot. He got to that mid-range game, man, and he went to work. Most of his damage was done on Santos, the guy I mentioned earlier, who was playing good defense and being the Anderson Varejao for this team. But yeah, Tobias was really big in this game. He was really big, and even not even just his scoring and his rebounding, not even just that. Just, when the Pistons weren't getting foul calls, at a dead ball, he bringing his guys together. Everybody, like he's done that multiple times. When Jaden went down on January 1st, when Jaden went down, and the whole team, you just saw like the life was just sucked out of him. He brought them together, guys. This hurts. We need him, but we don't have him right now. We got a game to win. Let's go win this game for him. That's what he's done that multiple times. That's just the veteran who's been there before. That's why he's important, right? Like I mentioned before, if you guys. He's giving us exactly what we hoped he would give us when we signed him, right? We knew it was tough early, but right now, the Tobias Harris we're seeing right now is every bit of the Tobias Harris that I think all of us hoped we would get when he signed here for 2 years, right? Anybody not happy with how he's playing right now? Let me know in the comments. Is anybody not happy with how Tobias is playing? Has Tobias lived up to his contract so far? Rocky first half of the season. Better than expected second half of the season, right? So he's kind of earning his contract. Like I got to give him credit because I got on him a lot early in the season when he wasn't playing well. And as of right now, he's really playing well for this team, man. And you saw when he came right back into the starting lineup how important he was for this team. How important he was for this team. So Tobias, good game, man. Great game. All right, guys, let's get to the bench and we'll get out of here, man. Let's take a look at okay, all right. I don't have my water, so I can't take a sip, but y'all know where I'm going. Simone Fontecchio. 0 points, 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, 3 fouls, 0 for 1 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3 in 10 minutes. Yeah, listen, y'all know I don't like to jump on anybody. I don't like to pick on anybody. I don't like to call anybody out unnecessarily. Devon said in 1 air ball. But guys, I don't know if Simone Fontecchio is a playoff player, is a player that you would want to have in your rotation in the playoffs. I don't know if he's a playoff rotational player. I just don't. He's not, and I've said this all season, guys. Like, he's not making an impact. He's just not making an impact on the court. I don't feel unless I just look for him, I forget he's out there. Tonight he was just getting cardio. Again, to his credit, I have to give him credit. He does play solid defense. He knows how to play good team defense. He's good on switches, off of back screens, and he doesn't get caught on back doors, and he's solid defensively. He holds it down defensively as far as not allowing easy shots or easy buckets. I have to give him credit for that. But that's really all he's doing. That's really all he's doing. And his 3-ball is not working for him right now. And he came up with a loose ball. I got okay. It's not really the energy or the effort, guys. He's just not making an impact on this team. And it's been this way for a while. I think we're at game 8 or 9 now as far as post All-Star break. And I said before game 1 of post All-Star started that I was going to give him personally, I'm just in my mind, I was giving him 5 to 7 games to see if he could give us any kind of consistency. I haven't seen it. Before the All-Star break, he wasn't giving us consistency. It was a great game and 2 terrible games, and a good game and 2 bad games. Like it was. So, in going to the playoffs, you need consistency more than anything off your bench. More than anything, guys will come in and play their role. That's why guys like Isaiah Stewart and Ron Holland are going to be important in the playoffs, right? But I just don't see it, guys. He doesn't seem to really fit for me. He doesn't seem to fit. I don't know what it is, but when you look at guys like Ron Holland, who are able to make an impact, who is nowhere near the shooter of a Fontecchio is right now. But Ron Holland is much more impactful on the basketball court than Fontecchio because he makes impactful plays. He has the ability to make plays, right? He can make plays. Fontecchio doesn't have the ability to make plays. And to his credit, he's not trying to make plays, which is what I asked for. But now that his shot's not falling, he's not really giving us anything. So at this point, I want to see, and I said this last show, at this point, I want to see B-Ball Paul. I want to see Paul Reed get minutes. I want to see Lindy Waters get a shot. I definitely, number one on my list, I want to see Bobby Klintman get an opportunity. I said this before, I think, and I may be going out on a limb with this, but I feel like Bobby Klintman is the kind of guy who is kind of a secret weapon in the playoffs to help you push a team you're not supposed to beat. I think he could be a guy that really makes his name in the playoffs, where you haven't really heard much about this guy, and all of a sudden you've got that guy who gives you that burst in that one playoff series. He had those moments that stood out, that changed the outcome of the series. I think he can be something like that. I'm not going to say I predict that because I don't know if he's going to be given the opportunity. I hope he does. I'll say this. If he is given the opportunity, I think he will have that type of impact. I think he's that good already. And I think he's that mature enough already. I think he's a very, very smart basketball player, guys. And I think he's going to be impactful. So we'll see. But back to Fontecchio, he's just not giving us anything. I'm literally counting down the minutes until he's taken back out. And I hate to say that, but I just don't see any impact with him. And Devon, I'm not really sure why he's playing him either. I don't know if it's because he feels he can trust him defensively to not make mistakes. But I mean, I wouldn't imagine everybody else on the bench would also be making those mistakes. You know, Fontecchio is a little bit more nimble than a guy like Paul Reed, right? Paul Reed, you don't want him, chasing guys off screens and stuff like that like Fontecchio can do. So maybe he just feels Fontecchio is the best suited right now to do the things well defensively that he needs him to do. That's all I can think of. I don't know. Is he better chasing guys off screens than Bobby Klintman? I don't know. Is he better than Lindy Waters? I don't know. If anything, I would just give Ron more minutes, personally, and go with a bigger lineup with Ron at the 3 and then put B-Ball Paul at the 4 and Stu at the 5, or however you want to do that. That's what I would do, personally. That's what I would do. But I don't know. And then you got Schroeder and Bees as your guards. And Stu and Schroeder have really developed a nice chemistry in that pick and roll. We're going to get to that in a second. But I think the Pistons have options, man. They have options. I think I would not mind Lindy Waters at all because he's got a clip, guys. I watched him with Golden State. He's got a clip. And once he gets hot, it's raps. Boy can shoot the ball. So I don't know. We'll see. But at this point, I'm done personally with the Fontecchio minutes. I don't want to see him anymore. And that's nothing against him. I like him. He seems like a real cool dude, real funny dude. In the locker room, you can hear him cracking jokes and stuff like that. But just from a basketball perspective only, I just don't see how he's really helping. And I think in the playoffs, you can't just have guys who are just going to do that, who are just going to be out there. You need guys who are going to be impactful. And you need guys who can do it on different nights. One night in the playoffs, it may not be Ron's night to make the impact, right? It may be B's one night. And then another night, it might be Stu's night. But you need guys who can have those games to help you win those games in the playoffs, have that signature moment in the playoffs. And Fontecchio hasn't given me confidence he can do that because in the regular season, he hasn't really had any consistency at all. I just don't see it. So that's kind of everything I'm mentioning now, guys, is focused toward the playoffs and looking at how it's going to impact us in the playoffs. I don't have confidence in playing him extended minutes in the playoffs when one of my guys goes down with early foul trouble. I don't have confidence playing him 20, 25 minutes because I got foul trouble. I just don't. So that's where I'm at with it. You guys let me know what you guys think. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. Mega Hustler, Foncio always gets up 1-and-1s on defense. His defense isn't good enough to overcome a missing. Right. Sebastian, that's very well said. And that's kind of what I was saying about Ron. And we'll get to Ron next. But Ron, or even Asar. Think about those two guys, Ron and Asar, right? Neither of those guys are good shooters. We said all season, if Fred Vincent can get those guys to respectability shooting. We've said it all year. If he can get those guys respectable, then we will definitely have 2-star level players in Ron Holland and Asar Thompson. We've said it all year. And we still say it. We still believe it. I believe it. I know y'all believe it, right? That's the difference. Because they can still find time on the court. Because they can still make impactful plays defensively. And sometimes offensively. But defensively, like we saw with Asar with that Euro up and under, right? But defensively, more importantly, they can do exactly what the Pistons are. Create turnovers and get out in transition and get easy buckets. That's Pistons basketball. And that's kind of what I mean when I say Fonseca doesn't fit, because he doesn't do those things. I've seen K turn guys over and get easy buckets. I've seen Beasley do it. Beasley did it tonight a few times and getting easy buckets. I've seen everybody on this team basically do that but him. I haven't seen him create a steal for a rundown. You know what I mean? I haven't seen the impactful plays. That's what I'm talking about. I haven't seen that. And I think that's really the problem. Yeah, I've seen Sasser do it. And Sasser, honestly, defensively, is a dog, right? I've seen him. He gets steals at times. I've seen him make great plays. He gets deflections. He dives on the floor. Devin, right? He dives on the floor. Like it's just the impact, guys. That's what I'm getting at. That's really what I'm talking about. So I feel like right now, Cliff, he is hurting us. Because I feel like has somebody else been given that opportunity, they would have made the impactful plays. They would have been more impactful. So, yeah, Brandon, it's crazy because I think the Fontecchio of last year would be much more impactful. I feel like he was more impactful. It seems like, I don't know if he is just not adjusting well to what the Pistons need him to do. Like we talked about Tobias, right? Making the adjustment as far as his game. Defensively, we talked about Jalen Duren making the adjustments with his game, focusing on defense and not offense, right? Maybe Fontecchio just isn't adjusting well to the role that he's being asked to play. Maybe he's struggling with just only doing certain things and not doing what he wants to do offensively, like JD was doing earlier in the season, right? JD was struggling with just the idea of being a defensive monster. You saw it. He wasn't buying into it. He wasn't giving the energy and effort, and he was taking bad shots offensively. Right? He had not bought in. He had not made the adjustment. Maybe Fontecchio is having a hard time making that adjustment. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that he has to make that adjustment because I'm sure in Italy he was a star offensive player. Right? But in the NBA, everybody's athletic. Every big can move their feet to at least the level that he can. Right? So I think he's just having trouble making that adjustment. It seems to be the biggest thing for him is he doesn't seem to be able to make that adjustment. And he's thinking too much now. And now he's just trying to I don't know. It just feels like he's trying to do too much. And now it seems like he's gone the other way. And now he's not doing anything. You know, earlier in the season, there was turnovers and getting caught in the air and Manu Ginobili, like my boy King always says. And now it's just like he's not doing anything. Like he's just out there. He's afraid to make mistakes. So it's tough. It's tough, man. I don't know. I don't know what this means for his future. I hope we can turn it around because it would be all the better for the Pistons. But right now, he's not really helping us. He's not really helping us. So I'm going to leave it at that, man. I'm not trying to make this all about him because it's not all about him, right? I'm sure he's trying. I'm sure he's trying to get there, but it's just not happening right now. So let's move on. Let's get to a few more guys and we'll get out of here. Ron Holland, I mentioned him earlier. He had 4 points, 1 rebound on 2 of 5 shooting, 0-2 from 3 in 11 minutes. So, guys, he missed both his 3-pointers, right? But he still found ways to be effective. He's still able to get downhill and get finishes. He was still able to make plays defensively, right? And that's kind of the difference. I feel like Ron needs more minutes. I personally think Ron needs more minutes. I'm not saying that just because we talked about Fontecchio. I felt like he's needed more minutes all season because he's showing that he's not playing like an average rookie. Most of the times when he plays, he's impacting in a positive way. Right? I feel like right now, for the NBA game, I feel like right now Ron Holland is a better basketball player than Fontecchio. Right? And I think that's just because he fits the style of play. Well, at least for this team. He's a better basketball player for this team than Fontecchio because of the things he's able to do impact-wise that don't show up on the stat sheet. right? Tonight, Fontecchio 0 for 1 from 3 and didn't give you anything else, right? Ron 0 for 2 from 3, but still finished 2 for 5 from the field. So he started getting downhill, right? He still made plays in this game that were important. He can still create turnovers. He can, he can still draw fouls and finish. I think he had an and one tonight. He can still get you offensive rebounds. He can still find ways to impact the game. He can still bring a mental edge like we've seen him do all season, right? That's the difference. It's just the impact. And that's why I'm not letting a guy like him go, because he's a rookie doing all this. So he definitely needs more minutes. 100%. Yeah, right. He played 11 minutes tonight. I don't know why. How many fouls did he have? Ron had no fouls tonight. No fouls at all. I don't know about that one, JB. I don't know about that one, bro. You know better than me, but I don't know about that one. That just seems kind of that's tough. I'll leave it at that. That's tough. That's tough. Yep, only 11 minutes. That scares me because it shows some rigidity in JB. Rigidity isn't. Yeah, right. That's kind of what I didn't want to say it. You kind of led me there. Kind of said it for me. So yeah, I'm with you there for sure. Text minutes need to decrease. Yeah. I'm not gonna get on him again. I spend enough time on him. I'll leave him alone for the rest of the night. Do y'all know why Sark didn't play those last few minutes of the game? That's a good question, Lohai. I mentioned it earlier. I think it was because he was tired. I think he was tired, man. He only played 18 minutes tonight. And I know he's been back for most of the season, but being off 8 months is hard. And he was off 8 months with that blood clot last year. So it's hard. It's tough. And having a guard guy like Steph Curry, because like I mentioned earlier, I'll say it again, Lohai. The early assignment of Steph Curry went to Asar Thompson. The way he's done it with a lot of guys now. He's done it with Trae Young. He's done it with the best offensive player on most teams as of late. But when you got to chase Steph around, Steph does not stop moving, bro. He just keeps moving. And that is exhausting for anybody. Thanks to Devon, he helped me remember Matthew Dellavedova said he had to go to the hospital in 2015 in the finals having to guard Steph. And he was in good shape. So a guy like Asar, who's still getting his legs under him, is going to have trouble with that. That's why you saw Bees on him more. That's why you saw Schroeder on him more, and on and on. So I think that was a big reason as to why. But let's move on. Let's get to Isaiah Stewart. Guys, okay, so Stewart has 7 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls, 2 or 3 from the field, 3 or 3 from the free throw line in 17 minutes. Does anybody not love Isaiah Stewart? Anybody on this team not love Isaiah Stewart? Did anybody see what happened with him and Steph Curry? Isaiah Stewart is not going to let anybody on this team disrespect him or his teammates. He is very aware of when there is slight disrespect. He's very aware of where there is slight taunting. If you watch the game, you know what I mean. If you didn't, check this out.
84-84.
Wrong one. Hold on, let me grab it because I grabbed the wrong one. But I want to make sure you guys see this, because when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is definitely something that is trying to be done. So basically, is this the right one? Let me see. That's not it. Okay, let me grab it. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to grab it in a second. But it was just so. But what happened basically was Steph Curry made a 3, and he walked over to the Pistons bench, and he kind of like went in their airspace when he didn't have to, but he went in their airspace, and he just kind of walked over there. And the thing is, I've seen Steph do this so many times, and never really thought anything of it, because that's just Steph being Steph. But watching this game, it annoyed me. It was very, very annoying. And I'm like, bro, just get out of here. Like, why are you walking over to the Pistons? I saw him doing it. I saw him doing it after he made the shot. He made a shot, and he started getting cocky. He's at home. You know, his family's there. You know, they're probably going to win a close game. He was just doing a little bit too much. He was doing a little bit too much, as Steph often does when he's at home. Like, Steph is a very humble player, but he's a very competitive player too. And sometimes he has his moments where it's just like, yeah, I'm doing too much right now. And he was doing too much, right? And Isaiah Stewart is like, nah, bro, that's not cool. Like, and he got up immediately. Like that, nah, bro. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So that's why I appreciate Isaiah Stewart, because he always sets the tone for this team. He's not going to allow anybody to be disrespected. He's not gonna. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. And honestly, I don't know if this had anything to do with what happened with Lindy Waters when Stu took the ball from him, but Steph was sitting right next to Lindy Waters when Stu did that. The last time these two played, and Stu ripped the ball away. Steph was sitting right next to Lindy Waters, and Steph didn't like that Stu did that. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he didn't like that. So I don't know if that was kind of why he did that tonight, but I think I have it here now. Check this out.
Here goes Steph Curry. Isaiah Stewart goes over and says, "Get out of here, man."
Yeah.
And then here comes Duran. Get out of here, man.
That's the other guy's bench. That's like the other guy's locker room.
So you guys saw that. So yeah, Steph made the shot and he walked over there. And I don't know why Stu got a tech for that. I don't know why he got a tech for that, because all he did was he just gave him a nudge like, bro, you're walking in our space. Get out of our space. I don't know why he got a tech for that. Like, what else? It's like the game is getting so soft now, bro. The game is getting so soft now. It's just like, guy, you can't do anything now. You can't just let these guys just be in their element at all. And like I mentioned, Steph knew what he was doing. And Stu knew what he was doing too. And Stu was like, nah, bro, I don't. And Stu actually tried to walk away. Let's watch it again. Stu actually tried to walk away, gather himself, but Steph kept yapping. After the initial headbutt, when Stu pushes him away and Steph and him are talking, and Stu tries to walk away. And Steph is still yapping at him. Steph points at him. And that's when Stu loses. Said, bro, you too little. Like, if you don't stop talking to me. So watch it again with that in mind.
Here goes Steph Curry. Isaiah Stewart goes over and says, "Get out of here, man."
Yeah.
And then here comes Duran. Get out of here, man.
That's the other guy's bench. That's like the other guy's locker room.
So Stu gets the tech for giving him a nudge, and then Steph walks up on him and gets in Stu's face. Stu said, man, get out of here. Stu walks away. Steph is still yapping. Steph points at him, and then Stu responds and does what he does. But Stu's the only one that gets a tech. Come on, bro. What are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? I know home court advantage is a thing, but come on, bro. That's not even fair. The refs saw him walk over there to the Pistons bench. Come on. The refs saw Stu nudge him back only because Steph walked over there. The refs saw the refs saw Steph walk up on Stu. The refs saw Stu walk away. The refs saw Steph continue to talk to Stu and point at Stu. And then the refs saw Stu respond by doing this. Come on, man. And if anything, yes, it should have been a double tech. If anything, to me, that's a play on. To me, it's a play on. That's just basketball, man. Ain't nobody push each other. Ain't nobody throw no blows. Ain't nobody trying to fight. You know what I mean? Come on. I understand you trying to regulate the game, but come on, bro. Come on. If anything, double tech. I'm saying this is play on. But double tech at the worst. But to only give Stu a tech, come on, bro. Come on. That's he's trying to protect his team, take up for his team. He didn't initiate anything. Okay, Dally said they both got, okay. If they both got one, cool. I didn't know they both got one. I thought only Stu got one. So if they both got one, I'm cool with that. My bottom line is I love how Isaiah Stewart is. I love the player that he is. Because he's the only one that stood up and said anything. And not saying he should have or shouldn't not have, but he just wasn't going for it. A lot of time in a situation, you may see guys yapping us, like if Steph walks over to your bench at the end of the game when the game is pretty much over, and he does that, most guys are just yapping at him. They're just like yapping at him, like, talk, man, I feel like, get out of here. Whatever. But like Stu stood up immediately and was like, nope, get out of our area, bro. You're not doing this here. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different level. It's a different level of demand of respect, right? That's why Isaiah Stewart cannot leave this team. He can't, because he's teaching these guys too. Whenever a guy does something like that, real slyly, that's not cool. Because there's a lot of gray area in the NBA. And when you played a lot of years in the NBA like Steph or LeBron or KD, like, you know those gray areas. You know what you can get away with that can really get under your opponent's skin. You know what those things are because you've seen them, you've had them done to you, right? So having a guy like Stu leading by example, he's showing these guys, these young guys, yeah, okay, going forward, if a guy ever walks over here, I'm pushing them out of here. I'm not letting them do it. He's teaching by his example, guys. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why he's so important. That's why he's so important. Because things like that can either give you an edge or give them an edge over you if you allow that. It's all about understanding what to do in certain situations. And Stu, man, I love that guy in this. He's one of my favorite players in this team. Easily, man. But anyway, that's Isaiah Stewart. I had to show that clip because that was very, very important for me to see. He just not taking disrespect, man. That's crazy. All right, 2 more guys, and we'll get out of here. Dennis Schroeder, man, stepping up. He had 11 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls, on 5 for 8 shooting, 0-2 from 3, 1-2 from the free throw line. Man, he gave the Pistons a huge boost, guys, on both ends of the court tonight. On both ends of the court. He played really solid defense. Really solid defense on Steph, chasing guys around, like I mentioned earlier, and really just being able to be disruptive. You know, Steph a lot of times would lose the ball tonight because you had guys like Schroeder and Beasley, etc., swiping at the ball from behind when they got caught in the screen, right? They would because he seemed like Steph would kind of forget they're there, and they were able to get a hand on the ball and knock it away. And that happened a few times. And that was one of the things Schroeder was doing. You know, he really just played him solidly tonight. He didn't play him perfect because, you know, Steph is Steph, man. He's the best shooter ever. He had 32 points, but he had it on 8 for 22 shooting. Steph only shot 4 for 15 from 3 tonight. He made his living at the free throw line. 12 for 12 from the free throw line. 12 of 12 from the free throw line. That's where he made his living. But he did not shoot the ball well tonight. The Pistons really did bother him tonight. And I think that's something to really keep in mind and be encouraged by, is having a guy like Schroeder, who's not the biggest guy, but he's a bull. He's gonna be a pest, right? You got guys like Malik Beasley who steps up like he did tonight and did the same thing. But Schroeder, man, he really gave the Pistons a boost. Really gave him a boost, man. He really got a scoring and got other guys involved. I talked about it already, but him and Isaiah Stewart, man, they're developing a really nice chemistry in that screen and roll. You know, Stu sets really strong screens for everybody, and Schroeder's really good in the pick and roll. He's known for being a really good midi scorer, pick and roll scorer, right in the mid range. So that's what they're looking for. And when they help him, Stu is right there, slipping to the hoop every time. And he is gathering and going straight up. Like, Stu is understanding and becoming better and better on how he needs to score in the paint, because it takes him a little bit longer to gather. He doesn't have the foot speed, you know, of these quick guys. So it takes him a split second longer when he catches to gather and go up. But he's understanding how to use the rim to his advantage to keep guys from flying over and blocking the shot. Like, he's a very good under the rim scorer, like a Zach Randolph type of guy who's really good under the rim. I'm not saying he's Zach Randolph. Zach Randolph is one of a kind, lefty, right? But Stu is developing and improving in that way, in that he's becoming better and better under the rim as far as scoring the basketball. He can still get up here and there and throw a few dunks down, but he's just understanding how to be effective for the player and athlete that he is around the rim. And him and Schroeder are looking really, really solid on that pick and roll, man. Yeah, so definitely want to point that out too. All right, let's get to our last guy, man, Malik Beasley. 17 points, 2 boards, 1 assist, 4 steals, 1 block. This is Malik Beasley, by the way. 17 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover, 3 fouls on 6 for 14 shooting, 2 of 7 from 3, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. It's only black mark was his free throw shooting. 3 of 6 from the line. That hurt. In 28 minutes. I think he's shooting like 72% from the line, which is wild, because you would think him shooting as well as he does from 3 that he'd be better. And I think it's just a rhythm thing for him. He is very much a rhythm shooter. When he catches clearly off the screen, or he catches it right in his pocket, like right in the pocket, and he goes up, it's good. But if he has to put the ball on the floor and, you know, reload, or if he had, you know, that's when it's more difficult for him. And I think at the free throw line, it's just a matter of focus. That's really the only thing, because He's better than 72% from the free throw line. We all know that. So, but, I'm kind of keeping my eye on that because that's something that is going to be important in the playoffs, especially if he's able to put the ball on the floor and get to the line the way he has been lately. So we'll see. But that's enough of the negative, man. Like, but Beasley tonight, man, what stood out to me with this guy is his defense. Yes, he knocked down shots when they needed him. Yes, he had a few and-ones. But his defense tonight, man, and not even just tonight, but the last month and a half, 2 months, has really flown under the radar. Like the way he's guarding now, the way he was guarding Steph tonight, he was a big reason as to why Steph shot 4-15 from 3. He actually blocked one of Steph's threes tonight without fouling. He's been guarding very, very well, man, as of late. He had great individual defense on Steph. I mentioned that Asar had to, come off of Steph because he was tired, it looked like. And Schroeder and Beasley were the two guys who really chased Steph around. They chased him around all night, chasing him around. I think that may be part of why guys look fatigued toward the end of the game because they were exerting so much energy defensively, right? But he was doing everything defensively, man. He was a pest. He turned him over a few times, like I mentioned, from behind, getting the steal. He didn't get caught on back doors either. Steph was moving without the basketball. And it's hard sometimes to guard that because you can't have your eyes in two places at one time. You can't see who's passing the ball and you can't see where Steph is at the same time. So sometimes getting caught on back doors happen, especially when you got guys like Draymond Green setting screens to further help Steph get open as he's running around all the time. So that's tough. But even on a backdoor cut by Steph, Beasley got a steal. Right? He didn't get caught. Not only did he not get caught on it, but he got the steal. So his defensive awareness and his defensive focus and his commitment to that end has really, really improved. And it was never terrible. He's never been a great defender. And he's never had terrible effort. But now that he understands the offense, it seems like now he's like, okay, how can I help more defensively now too? And you're seeing it. Like he's playing very well with his feet. He's not really fouling with his hands. He's just all in. Like all these guys, that's what I mean. All these guys are committed to that end of the floor. All these guys are committing to the defensive end of the floor. And you're seeing it with everybody now. You're seeing with everybody. Like now, you're seeing Beasley, who's known for being a great shooter, one of the best shooters in the world, right? You're seeing him commit to the defensive end. You're seeing offensive guys or guys whose strength is naturally offense, like Cade, like Schroeder, J.I. before he got hurt, right? Sasser. You're seeing those guys who are primarily offensive guys strap up defensively. Cade trying to be a two-way player. Schroeder being the pest defensively, turning Steph Curry over. And then you've got, of course, your defensive locks like Stu and Asar taking their defense to another level. Like setting the tone. Guys who set the tone like Ryan and Stu, like those guys. They've all committed to playing for each other. They're all committed to playing team basketball. They're all committed to playing on the defensive end of the floor first. It doesn't matter what your role is. It doesn't matter what you're best at. You got Tobias getting 12 boards because he understands the assignment, right? And that's the key. That's what it comes down to. You got JD coming into his own because he understands the assignment. It's important. So, yeah, Allen, THJ, he gives a lot of effort too. He's not the best defender, but you can tell he really tries to. Yes, Allen, 100%. All the veterans have bought in. It's important to have veterans on this team, but you still need the right kind of veterans. Every veteran isn't a good veteran. Some veterans come to your team, if it's through trade or whatever, they come to your team for a paycheck, or they're playing for ulterior motive reasons. They're playing for ulterior motives. It's not pure. It's not really towards helping this team move forward. It's for helping them in their own desires and what they are trying to achieve in their careers. And they may be the point where I've accomplished enough in my career. I'm not about to go full tilt. That's why the Pistons bringing in superstars late in their career was a mistake every time. Because those guys knew coming here, they weren't going to win a championship. Tracy McGrady, Blake Griffin, Chris Webber, who I love, all these guys, Iverson, all these guys the Pistons brought in on the back end of their career, they knew they were going to win a championship, right? And I'm not saying all those guys had ulterior motives, but my point is every veteran is not a good one. A lot of those Pistons veterans were solid. Like Chris Webber was solid. He was a good veteran for this team. But a lot of guys, when they came here, they knew they weren't going to win a championship. They knew that. And so Guys like McDyess, yes, McDyess is one of the outliers. He was a good one because he had a chance to win the championship in '05. He got there and lost in 7 games to the Spurs, which is still hurts my heart. But he's not one of the guys I'm talking about, Cliff and Cleans, but I hear you. But yeah, like Paul George. Right. Paul George is not a good veteran to have. You know what I mean? Like, it is not only because he's not playing well. He's just now talking about not having a podcast. He's just now saying, yeah, I think I'm gonna put my podcast to the side. Now you can go one or two ways with that. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but that was a great point by Devon as far as having the right veterans. And then we'll come back full circle to our 3 veterans that we have, right? Guys like Paul George, you can go one or two ways with his soundbite when he mentioned that he was gonna stop doing this podcast to focus on basketball. You can go, if you're a Paul George fan, you're gonna say, oh, that's what I love to hear. Man, PG, he had a tough year with injuries, man, but now he's going to take his commitment to another level and put the podcast down. I respect that. Man, I respect that. It just shows his commitment. Even though the Sixers ain't going nowhere, he's still committed to helping his team move forward. I love it. That's why he got paid $50 million a year. Right? You can go that way. Or you can go the other way. Like most people are going. It's like, bruh, you're just now saying you're going to take basketball seriously and make that number. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I first read that, I'm like, why? I wouldn't even say that publicly. If I felt that way, I wouldn't even say that out loud. I wouldn't even say that. Because honestly, guys, look, I'm going to be honest. I felt that way before he said, I felt that last year. And honestly, like, guys with podcasts, listen, I don't know if it helps him, if it hurts him or not. Because I'm not one of those guys who are just like, well, all you got to do is focus on basketball. Like Kobe. Like Kobe just loved, he ate, slept, drank. He was just in love with the game. Some guys are just in love with the game. Everybody isn't in love with the game like that, and that's okay. I don't have an issue with that. I'm not even saying that, like, if NBA players have a podcast, it's a negative thing. Like Draymond Green, when he won the championship with the Warriors when they beat the Celtics, that was the first year of him having his podcast. Now, he's not the main guy, but you saw with Draymond, it didn't affect him at all when he played. He was still balling, right? So I'm not even saying you shouldn't have one. I'm just saying certain guys can regulate it, certain guys can't. But when you saw Paul George playing as bad as he was playing and still on the podcast, now I'm like, bro, like, even if it's not affecting you from an optics standpoint, can you just chill on that for me? Can you just chill on that? Like, bro, you're averaging 16 points and you're making $50 million a year. Can you stop? Like, can you chill on the like? So it's almost like he was forced to put that aside because people are probably thinking, bro, if you're playing this bad, the last thing you should be doing right now is a podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seemed like somebody had to tell him that in order for him to stop doing it because it was a bad look for him to keep doing it and to be playing as bad as he was. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. But that's kind of what I mean. He doesn't seem to be focused on winning a championship, at least at this phase in his career as a veteran. That's not who I want on my team. As talented as he may be or was, he's not that same guy anymore. And mentally, he's not that same guy anymore. I feel like in Indiana, he was that guy that wanted to win championships. And was he the guy to do it? I don't know. Was he good enough? Maybe. LeBron was in his way, right? But I felt like then at that point, the talent and the mindset, yeah, give me that Paul G. Give me that PG. Give me that Paul George. But the one now who is on the decline athletically and mentally, maybe even be in the decline too, maybe focus about his post-NBA career with his podcast and other stuff, I'm straight on that guy. You see what I'm saying? Having a guy like Tobias, who is an ultimate and consummate professional, who's already getting his guys ready for the playoffs by getting all of his teammates fitted for suits so they can wear suits during the playoffs. That's what Tobias just did. You see the focus is different. It's somewhere else. You see, that's the difference. You got Beasley buying in on both ends of the court. One of the best shooters in the world, scrapping for the ball, trying to get steals, trying to get just Tim Hardaway Jr., same thing, known to be a shooter, scorer, looking like a defensive stopper at times, not turning guys over, but just being strong, tough defensively, right? Like the buy-in from your veterans. When you got the buy-in from your veterans, everybody else is going to buy in. It's kind of like when Greg Popovich would go in on Tim Duncan in practice and call him all the way out. Guess what? Ain't nobody going to say nothing to coach when he called me out. You know why? Because our star just got called out and he didn't say a word. That's the culture that these veterans are bringing, is that they're buying into their role as the vets. If the old vets is doing it, if the Uncle T's are doing it, Uncle Tobias, right, and Uncle Tim are doing it, and they bones is a little older, I ain't got no reason not to. That's why having the right veterans is important. And the Pistons have the right veterans for this team, man. I love it. So, yeah, tough loss, man. Tough loss to this team. But, I'm not panicking. I'm not distraught. I'm not anything like that. The Pistons lost 2 games back-to-back on the road to teams who are more experienced than they are, who've been there before, right? It's okay. The Pistons didn't get blown out. The Pistons play respectable games both times, right? Didn't play perfect, but they played good enough to beat other teams, just not teams who have been there before, who know how to execute down the stretch. That's all. That's all. Devon said, imagine if K had a podcast last year, seeing him all happy talking about basketball, telling, wow, great point, Devon. Guys, I'm going to read this again. Devon said, imagine if K had a podcast last year, seeing him all happy talking about basketball, telling jokes. That's the situation that the Sixers are in. That's why he mentioned that. The Sixers are going in the wrong direction. They are at the bottom of the East right now. They're actually worse than their record when you look at who they don't have available. But that would be a terrible look, Devon. That's a sign of maturity on Cade's part. Cade was solely focused on making this team better, right? And he didn't quit on this team. It wasn't like, because certain guys just don't care about winning, and they just have podcasts like what Devon is saying. Other guys do care about winning, but they lash out at their teammates. They lash out in the media, right? That's the difference with Cade, because he cares about winning, but he also is mature enough to handle it the right way. That's part of why he was picked number 1, is because of who he is as a person. Troy Weaver always said, I'm not just drafting basketball players, I'm drafting people. I'm drafting good people. I think everybody we can say that's come through here in the last 4 or 5 years has been good people. Focus on the right things. And Cade is one of those guys. A great point by Devon. Great point by Devon, man. Alan says, I don't know if you talked about it, but Brunson is out for at least 6 more games. That could be huge for the standings. The Bucks also lost tonight, and they have a tough stretch coming up. I am happy you mentioned that, Alan, because that is going to take us into the last segment of tonight's show, where we're going to take a look at the NBA standings and talk about also not just the NBA standings, but we're going to look at a few games from other teams. I believe there were some teams that are just above us that were in action tonight. And if I believe, let's just take a look, and we'll take a look and see what happened this evening. Because I do think that the Pistons didn't really lose ground on anybody tonight. Let's take a look. All right, here we are. So the Cavs just keep winning. Like they've won 13 straight. They're ridiculous right now. But look at this, guys. As far as streaks, the other day I talked about how other teams are playing well. Well, guess what? Now everybody above us, short for the top 2 teams, save for the top 2 teams in the East, have lost and are losing. The Knicks have lost 3 straight. The Bucks just lost tonight. The Pacers have lost 2 straight. But unfortunately, the Pistons have also lost 2 straight. So we haven't been able to make up any ground, but we haven't lost any, thankfully. So we're 2 games back of the 4 seed. The Bucks lost tonight. The Pacers, guys, just lost 2 straight games back-to-back to the Hawks. The Hawks beat them tonight and I believe last night. But they lost both of those games. And I thought this was a great opportunity to make up some ground. But we lost 2 toughies. We lost 2 tough games, man. To the Clippers and to the Warriors. So, the Pistons still have a chance to catch the Bucks and the Pacers. But you have to imagine once the Pistons start hitting their rhythm back, the Pacers and or Bucks will also be doing the same thing, right? So it's not going to be easy to catch either of those teams. It's going to be tough. Like I mentioned to you guys, I want to stay at 3. So that way we can play the Knicks in the first round. I think that gives us the best chance to win. You guys let me know in the comments as of right now, who do you guys want to see in the first round? I personally want the Knicks. I know some of you guys want the Pacers for nostalgic reasons. I know some of you guys like the Bucks for other reasons. So let me know who you guys think the Pistons should play. I just feel like we match up best against the Knicks. I do know Mitchell Robinson just came back, but it's a lot to ask of a guy who hasn't played all year to come back and be the guy he was before he went down. It's a lot to ask. We just talked about Asar, and now he was out for a long time, and how it took him time to get his legs back under him, right? So I'm not saying Mitchell Robinson won't be ready, but I'm not confident that he would be ready. I wouldn't be worried about him. When we got guys like JD and Isaiah Stewart, I wouldn't be worried, right? So we'll see, man. That's who I want to. I definitely want the Knicks. And also just because the Pistons on a big stage, it puts them on a big stage. They're gonna have more media coverage. It's an opportunity for some of these guys to shine on a bigger stage, for Cade to continue to shine, to show why he's an all-NBA player, which as of right now, I think he's top 9 in MVP voting. I think he's number 9 as far as MVP voting. So that to me translates to all-NBA. There's 3 teams, all-NBA teams. There's 3 of them, right? And 15 players, 3 teams, Cade's top 10 as of right now in MVP voting. So I don't see how he doesn't make an all-NBA team based on those numbers. And I think if he plays a team like the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs, it just helps his case, especially if he plays well against Brunson, who also is going to be consideration for NBA All-Team, right? So we'll see. Chess Ready says, CAT stands for Knicks ain't tough. You know what? That is something that people have talked about as far as the Knicks not having that same gritty edge that they had when Randall was there. Because even though Randall isn't as good of a basketball player as CAT is, and you see that watching Minnesota, but he did bring a certain toughness that Coach Thibodeau liked, and they don't have that now. So I think guys like Isaiah Stewart, who are that, can really take advantage of that and really try to, get physical with guys like CAT and kind of mix it up in the paint. But we'll see. K getting love on first thing first. I saw that. I think it was today or yesterday. I think I saw that too. He's getting more love as of late, and I love it, man. I love it. Knicks because they don't have no bench. I'm with you there. Knicks are afraid of us too. Everyone sees us sneaking up and beating them. Yep, I think that's the same thing. Hartenstein was the biggest loss. That's Cliff. That's a great point. Hartenstein hurt them a lot. Losing him and him going to the Thunder now, that's tough. I definitely like our odds going up against that front line. I really do. Mitchell Robinson is a beast when he's healthy, but he's not always healthy, and we don't know how much he's going to play. But once again, the Pistons have a shot to get the 3, but I'd rather them stay right here. That's why I'm not mad at these. Honestly, guys, I wanted the Pistons to stay at 6. Like if they stay at 6, that means they're just playing steady basketball as far as wins and losses. Like, and these are the losses that I am okay with because we're not losing to teams that we're just automatically supposed to beat. Right? The Warriors are playing really good right now, and they're at home, right? And they have all the experience. The Clippers, same thing. They're a veteran team. Right. So I'm not mad at those. It worked for me. It's perfect because we can make sure we pace ourselves, stay at 6, and the losses that we are having are against teams that, okay, I can live with that. Right. I don't want the Pistons to go on a crazy streak to end the season and burn out because it's all about timing in the playoffs. I'm not saying they would, but I like the steady incline, the steady growth. Right. That's what I want to see. So these losses are fine for me to these teams, and it's keeping us right where we need to be in the 6th spot to catch and beat the Knicks. Like, it's perfect. For me, it's perfect. I don't see any other scenario that is good. Now, we go win the next few games. As long as we don't go on a crazy losing streak, right? We're not going to get caught by the Hawks. They're 5. They're 5 games back. We're not getting caught by any of those guys. We're going to be 6 or above. We're not getting caught by anybody else. But I don't want the Pistons to get to 4, and then we play our guys too much, and then somebody has a little knick-knack injury, and now we're going to the playoffs, and we're not full strength, and now we're playing the Pacers, or the Bucks. I don't want that. I want us to take our time, get our guys right, make sure guys are rested, understand the system, get into the flow of what we're going to be, that kind of thing, and then when we get to the playoffs, we can really exert all of our energy and go all in against an opponent that we know we can beat. You see what I'm saying? And we get all of this attention, media coverage that guys deserve. It's perfect. It's perfect for me. That's the best case scenario. Instead of getting to the 4 or 5, playing against the Bucks or the Pacers, it's not going to get nearly the same kind of coverage. Even with the history with the Pacers, it's not going to get nearly the same kind of coverage. And then we play a team that we're not matched up well as, but we don't play as well against. And that doesn't bode well to me, in my opinion. Give me a team I can play in the playoffs that I know I have confidence I can beat, and it's going to turn heads, and we didn't have to overexert. We just continue to steady rise, and now we have all the confidence in the world going to the next round. Like that's my take, man. Like that's That's why tonight's losses are fine. Tonight's last loss, fine. Now let's get back to who we are and make a steady run for the playoffs against a team that we know it can beat. That's where I'm at with it. So we'll leave it there, guys. The Pistons, I think the next game against is the Blazers, and I think the Pistons will win that game. I don't see the Pistons losing 3 straight. I think they'll win that game against the Blazers team, who's playing better, but the Pistons are the better team. And I think in that situation, we get a tough one on the road. I think they're going to give us a good fight. Chauncey Billups led team. They're playing much better, but I think the Pistons bounce back. And I think they get to 36-29 in the season, and we kind of go from there and see what happens. So we'll leave it there, guys. As always, I appreciate you guys showing up and showing out. This has been another good show. In conclusion, the Pistons fall tonight to the Golden State Warriors, 115-110. But it's okay because there's another game coming up tomorrow, and the Pistons can bounce back and get a dub and start a new winning streak. So, as always, guys, I appreciate you guys showing up and showing out and showing love to your boy as always. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow night after the game, hopefully starting a brand new streak with a win against the Portland Trailblazers. And y'all know, as always, I appreciate you hanging with me. Detroit versus everybody.